Clifford Geertz's theory of culture. Clifford Geertz was one of the most influential cultural anthropologists of the 20th century. He offered a fresh and powerful way to understand human societies, not by focusing only on economic systems or political structures, but by studying how people give meaning to their lives through culture. His theory of culture is different from many traditional ideas because he believed that culture is not something people simply have, but something they live and experience through symbols, language, rituals, and shared understandings. At the heart of Clifford Geertz's theory is the idea that culture is a system of symbols. Think of symbols as anything that stands for something else, a word, a gesture, a piece of clothing, or even a religious ritual. For example, a flag is not just a piece of cloth. It is a powerful symbol that stands for a nation and everything people believe about it. A wedding ring is not just metal, it symbolizes love, commitment, and a social promise. According to Geertz, culture is made up of many such symbols that people in a society use to communicate with each other and to make sense of their world. What makes Geertz's theory so unique is how he wanted to study these symbols. He believed that to understand culture, we must not only observe people's behavior from the outside, but also try to understand what that behavior means to the people doing it. This idea is known as thick description. Geertz borrowed this term from the philosopher Gilbert Ryle, but he gave it new life in anthropology. A thin description might simply tell you what happened, like saying someone winked. But a thick description goes further. It explains whether that wink was a joke, a secret message, a flirtation, or maybe even a mockery. In short, thick description looks at both the action and the meaning behind it. Geertz said that to truly understand a culture, anthropologists must act like interpreters. Just as someone might translate a book from one language to another, the anthropologist's job is to translate cultural symbols into a form that makes sense to outsiders. But this is not easy. You cannot just ask people to explain everything. Sometimes, people are not even fully aware of the deep meanings behind their actions. That is why Geertz encouraged researchers to spend time with people, observe their rituals, listen to their stories, and slowly build an understanding of how their world works. One of Geertz's most famous examples of thick description comes from his study of the Balinese cockfight. At first glance, a cockfight might just look like a brutal sport involving roosters. But Geertz showed that for the Balinese people, the cockfight was filled with deep cultural meaning. It was not only about gambling or entertainment. It was a way for people to express social tensions, show status, and deal with emotions like pride and fear. In other words, the cockfight was a symbolic performance through which people expressed things they could not say out loud. Geertz's essay on the Balinese cockfight became one of the most well-known works in anthropology and helped people see that even everyday activities can have rich cultural meanings. Geertz also believed that culture is public. This means that culture does not exist just inside our heads. It is out in the open, in the things we say and do, in the symbols we use, and in the shared rituals of a community. When you participate in a wedding, go to a funeral, vote in an election, or even celebrate a national holiday, you are taking part in your culture. You are acting out a shared story that gives meaning to your life and connects you with others. Another key point in Geertz's theory is that culture shapes how people see the world. People in different societies may live in the same physical world, but they do not experience it the same way. Their beliefs, traditions, and language influence how they think, what they notice, what they value, and how they act. This is why understanding culture is so important. It helps explain why people from different parts of the world may behave very differently in similar situations. Geertz rejected the idea that we can study culture using the same tools used in physics or biology. He argued that human behavior is not always logical or predictable, and it cannot be fully understood using statistics or scientific laws alone. Instead, he believed that anthropology should be more like the humanities, like reading literature or analyzing art, because it deals with meaning, interpretation, and human experience. He was also careful to say that no culture is better or more advanced than another. Every culture has its own logic and must be understood on its own terms. This respectful and open-minded approach made Geertz's work very popular among students and scholars who wanted to learn about other societies without judging them. Geertz also studied religion, politics, art, and many other aspects of human life. He believed that all of these areas are filled with symbolic meaning and that by understanding them, we can better understand what it means to be human. His work encouraged anthropologists to ask deeper questions about the values, beliefs, and emotions that shape people's lives. One of the lasting contributions of Clifford Geertz is the idea that we should not just describe what people do, but try to understand why they do it and what it means to them. This approach is especially useful in a world where people from different cultures are coming into contact more than ever before. Whether we are dealing with issues in education, healthcare, international relations, or community building, Geertz's theory reminds us to look beyond the surface and try to understand the stories people are living by. In simple terms, Clifford Geertz taught us that culture is a web of meanings that people have spun over time. We are born into these webs, and we use them to make sense of the world around us. As anthropologists, researchers, or even curious learners, our job is to look closely at these webs, understand their patterns, and appreciate the creativity and complexity of human life. If you found this video helpful and want to keep learning more about thinkers, theories, and the fascinating world of sociology and anthropology, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep producing educational content in simple, clear language for everyone. Thank you so much for watching.